Catherine of Aragon was born on the 16th of December 1485 to Queen Isabel of Castile and King Ferdinand of Aragon. She was very quickly betrothed to Arthur Tudor, the Prince of Wales, and at the age of 15 she made her way over to England to marry her future husband, the hopefully future King of England once Henry Tudor VII would die. They met in 1501 and the couple were married, but unfortunately it wasn't to last. An outbreak of sweating sickness ended up plaguing the castle that she and Arthur lived in, which was Ludlow Castle. And although the Prince and Princess both got sick, thankfully Catherine managed to survive, but unfortunately Arthur didn't. She was a widow at the age of 16 in 1502. Henry debated whether to keep her in England. She had a large dowry after all, and he wanted to keep that dowry, but due to the break in Spain after her mother's death, Henry wasn't too sure whether he wanted to keep the princess after all. In 1509, Catherine ended up marrying Henry VIII after the death of his father Henry VII. Being 6 years his elder, it didn't matter to the royal couple. In her eyes, she was a lot happier to be with this romantic figure that she had admired from afar, and in Henry's eyes, he saw himself as being a hero, saving poor Catherine from the life that his father had left her in, and the two had a very happy marriage. During her time as queen, Catherine pioneered for women to have education so they could actually write their own letters, and during the time of when she was queen, more women did have education and could actually write more than just their name. In 1513, she also defended England from Scotland, and eventually she had a surviving child. Throughout their relationship, Henry and Catherine had 5 children that unfortunately either died through being stillborn or died after only a few days of being born. Their only surviving child was Princess Mary, who was born in 1516. As the Queen aged, Henry had more and more relationships outside of the married bed. But this was accepted as he was a king and he was allowed to sow his oats wherever he wanted to. This all changed in 1522, or around that time, when he met Anne Boleyn. When he met Anne, she firmly refused him, and she was determined to be queen rather than his mistress. This unfortunately would cause the downfall of Catherine's reign. Between 1527 and 1529, Henry fought to have a divorce from his wife on the grounds that his marriage hadn't been lawful due to the fact that she had been previously married to his brother. In 1529, it was finally acknowledged by the whole of England, except for Catherine herself, that she was no longer Queen of England. Anne Boleyn was now the new Queen of England. But Sir Henry would still see her, especially when it came to her fixing his shirts, which caused Anne Boleyn and him to have a bit of a row over that. In the end, he ended up pushing Catherine away to more and more worse castles than the first, in order to discourage her and make her realise that she was no longer queen. But she stayed firm in her belief until the very end. In one of her final letters, while she was dying, she said defiantly to His Majesty, "Lastly, I make this vow, that my eyes desire you above all things. Catherine, the Queen." Catherine died on the 7th of January 1536, and she's buried at Peterborough Cathedral. This woman had a really rough go of it, but she was a fighter until the very end. Though she's seen through history as being this pious, very highly religious woman, a religion that she held on to until her very end, this woman was actually a very powerful woman and did many great things for England while she was here, following in the footsteps of her own parents. And she is definitely one of the best queens Henry ever had.